Oh, good evening, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed another fantastic day here in Vacation Land. I think we're getting used to these bright sunny days and comfortable temperatures as well. If you like the mild weather, I think you're going to like Friday. You'll like Saturday. Temps will be running the 60s, and we'll add in a few more clouds from time to time as well. I want to focus in exclusively on Sandy tonight. Of course, Sandy will have an impact here in northern New England. I still think we're going to have at least the potential for tropical storm force wind gusts. Also, my big concern will be some flooding, coastal flooding at the times of high tide. Now, the good news in the forecast, at least for us here in northern New England, the track of the storm system continues to trend a little bit further off to the west. And we talked a little bit about this last night. The worst of the storm should be somewhere between the Chesapeake Bay and Long Island. It looks like it's going to make a landfall somewhere in between there. Here in northern New England, I think we will be spared from the worst of the storm, but it's still looking like a big impact here in Maine and New Hampshire. Let's start out tonight with the satellite radar. Things are quiet here in the northeast. There are a few clouds to our west with an old front, a stronger front to our west, and notice what's happening down in Florida, the outer edges or some of the bands associated with Sandy affecting them down there. Okay, so where is this storm headed? Well, of course, it's going to drift off to the north. Just a few days ago, many forecast models took this storm right out to sea, and most now are converging on a storm making landfall somewhere between the mid-Atlantic states and up through southern New England. Most significant threat will be from the mid-Atlantic through southern New England. With that sort of track, what does it mean for us? Well, yeah, it's a sizable storm. It's still a very strong storm. You get that strong fetch of wind coming in off the ocean. I still expect coastal flooding here along the coastline, maybe some inland flooding if we get enough rainfall as well. And of course, power outages. That's a very real possibility with tropical storm force wind gusts. There still are some leaves on the trees. Latest forecast model guidance. Latest information is indicating the storm is going to move inland somewhere between Delmarva and Long Island. The worst of the storm system should be somewhere in between there. Based on tonight's forecast, that's my best estimate. Here's the latest look at Sandy. We're awaiting a new advisory coming up at 8 o'clock tonight. These are the latest numbers coming in just a few hours ago. Still a Category 2 storm. About 125 miles to the east, southeast of Nassau in the Bahamas. Winds 105 gusts to 127 miles per hour. Here's the Hurricane Center's official track. There it is. Actually, the other interesting thing about the Hurricane Center's track, not only shifting it to the west a little bit, but making a landfall as a tropical storm or even a minimal hurricane. Remember yesterday we were talking about the potential of the storm to become extra tropical, lose its tropical characteristics, and take on the characteristics more of even a nor'easter. Hurricane Center is suggesting that it's going to be a tropical storm with winds about 55 miles per hour, gusts to 65 somewhere in New Jersey. That 2 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. Monday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, still gusts 85 miles per hour. Now, I'd use caution taking a look at this track here because we still have that cone of uncertainty which runs from the Virginias all the way up through the New Hampshire seacoast. Worst case scenario for us in this track would be a storm tracking up through southern New England, of course, Rhode Island, Connecticut, even through New York. We would see a bigger impact here in northern New England. Let's head back to some of those spaghetti plots for a moment. These are some of the forecast models. That right there, the thicker line, that is the Hurricane Center's official track right there. Notice there still are computer models that take the storm further north, basically from New Jersey, even as far east as Cape Cod, moving up into Maine and New Hampshire. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they will continue shifting west and south over the next couple of days. I want to show you some of the forecast models in just a second here. These are some of the hurricane models added in as well. Notice the biggest threat basically running from the Chesapeake Bay region, Delmarva region, up through about southern New England. Most converge on that area from New Jersey up through New York, New York City, Long Island, and even Connecticut. So that is the biggest threat as far as landfall with a storm system. Now, to a few of the models. Remember the GFS had that Renegade run yesterday. Actually, it shifted west, which is actually pretty good based on its earlier tracks. But yesterday, the 12Z run had the storm slamming Maine as a hurricane. The good news, that has shifted further west. Good news for us in Maine. Folks down in Long Island, New York City, probably don't think it's good news at all. The GFS now has the storm over Long Island. And the other interesting thing about this is it has it much later in the game, much slower. This is a Tuesday night storm, so that model is valid Tuesday night. GFS has been a little bit out to lunch during the storm system, and it probably still is a little out to lunch as well, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Here's the Canadian model, very similar to the GFS. Storm centered somewhere over Long Island near New York, possibly over New Jersey at that point. This running early Tuesday morning, so quite a bit quicker than the GFS. But notice a lot of these models are sort of converging on a very similar track here. This is the no gaps model. I showed you this one yesterday. This just offshore of New Jersey this Monday morning, so quite a bit quicker than the other models. That is probably too quick. And the European model is the furthest west and south. This continues to be the trend with the European. It keeps shifting west, which isn't out of the question here, because this over toward Delmarva, the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, is a monster storm. We would still see some very strong winds here in Maine just because it's such a sizable storm, but the worst of that storm system based on the European model will be quite a bit to our south. Again, based on that European. This one right here is the Japanese model. It's been very similar to the European model over the last several days. This moving inland through portions of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, of course, west actually of Philadelphia at this point, and this will be early on Tuesday morning. One thing I haven't talked too much about over the last couple of days are wave heights. We talked a lot about coastal flooding. Let's take a look at the Wave Watch 3 forecast here. I want to stop this around 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday. I don't anticipate some big wave or huge waves, at least at this point, along the coast of Maine. Notice the model's projecting 3-4 foot waves. Notice what's happening out in the center of the storm, though. We're looking at 35-foot waves down there. Let's put this into motion a little bit further here. This 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Notice just offshore in the Gulf of Maine, we're looking at 10 to 15-foot waves here right at the immediate coastline, closer to 10-foot waves here. Let's head through the afternoon now, or evening on Tuesday. Based on the Wave Watch 3 model, our biggest waves, our biggest impact would be Tuesday with this storm. This 8 o'clock in the evening on Tuesday, we're looking at waves right along the coastline here of 10 to 20 feet. Which is comparable to what we get in some of our bigger nor'easters. So a big impact here. Tides running astronomically high. So I think the biggest concern for us in Maine, based on tonight's forecast, is coastal flooding. We'll have to watch those high tides both Monday and again on Tuesday and possibly into Wednesday as well. The other big concern, of course, with the potential for tropical storm force wind gusts would be for some power outages. That's, again, based on tonight's forecast. If this storm does trend a little further north or east, we could be talking about an entirely different scenario. But again, the good news in the forecast for folks in Maine, this storm continues to trend just a little further off to the south and west. Of course, I'm going to have many more updates over the next several days, and Craig will have updates as well. I'll have an update tonight coming up at 11. I'll see you then. Hope everyone has a nice night.